Let's talk some football. This time, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is, and I'm going to talk about Georgia Tech versus Colorado, but I'm going to do the thing that I don't think anybody is doing. I am actually going to talk about Georgia Tech. I'm not going to talk about Colorado. We all know about Colorado, but let's learn a little bit about Georgia Tech and let's talk a little bit about our competition, because the one thing I know that people are not paying attention to is what Georgia Tech has going on, who Georgia Tech lost, what they're going to do, and what they're going to look like. So I am going to do you a solid here, and I'm going to jumpstart the research that you should be doing, because Georgia Tech is the first team the Colorado Buffaloes are going to play in 2025. I know the easiest thing that's going to happen here is a lot of people are going to say, well, Georgia beat Georgia Tech, so we should be able to beat them. We need to be careful here. I have a whole series about how to look at football. I have a whole series about all the things that we should be paying attention to when it comes to our football teams. So I am going to, like I said before, put my money where my mouth is. I'm going to use that series that I created, and I'm actually going to talk about Georgia Tech and how I'm looking at Georgia Tech and some things that are concerning me already. So let me get into this video and tell you how I look at Georgia Tech, what I'm thinking about, because I think we all need to be thinking about these things if you're a Colorado Buffaloes fan and you're trying to figure out if Colorado can beat Georgia Tech. One of the first things that you should know is that Georgia Tech is returning 8 offensive starters. What does that mean? There's 11 people on offense. Georgia Tech is returning 8 of those starters. The main important pieces of the people that they are returning is going to be their quarterback, is going to be their running back, and is going to be a lot of their offensive linemen. If you watch Georgia Tech play at all in 2024, you will know that that offensive line was very good. And so if they're going to be returning their quarterback, which means the quarterback's not going to have to learn anything new or do anything different, and they're going to be returning a running back, which if you don't know, if you haven't looked at their stats, their running back almost got 1,000 yards and their quarterback got about 600 yards. So that alone is something that Colorado needs to think about. The reason being is because we all know Colorado struggled with a scrambling quarterback and a running back that could run the football and a good offensive line. Georgia Tech has all 3 of those things. So that is going to be something that I'm going to be focused on when I think about Colorado. The other side of this is I know a lot of people will say, well, Colorado got some people, they got some people in. This is game 1. Game 1, that entire Colorado defense is going to have to be ready to go. I don't know if they're going to be ready to go, but this is just something I'm thinking about because I have to think about what Georgia Tech already has in place, and I have to think of what Colorado needs to do to fix what they have going on. We don't know if Colorado can stop the run. Just because they got players in doesn't mean they're going to be able to stop the run. So that's something I'm going to think about. The other thing is, too, is we're going to see Georgia Tech's strength against Colorado's strength, which I believe is going to be their defense. Colorado has the most starters coming back on their defense. And so we're going to see strength on strength. We're going to see that Colorado defense go against that Georgia Tech offense. And that is going to be the biggest power struggle. Can Colorado tackle? Can Colorado stop the run? Can Colorado learn how to stop a dual threat quarterback? That's the first thing I'm thinking about. The other flip side of this is if Georgia Tech is very familiar with a running quarterback, they also are going to know how to defend Colorado. So something to think about. If you like what you see, don't forget to hit that like button. Don't forget to check and make sure that you're subscribed to my channel. And don't forget to turn on those notification bells. Also, if you're feeling generous, leave me a comment in the comment section below. When you're looking at these matchups, I always tell people, you have to go research the team you're going to play. The team that you're going to play is going to tell you everything you should know because you need to know how they play. You need to know their tendencies. You need to know their perspectives. You need to know all the things that I was talking about in my series. And I thought that this is going to be the best related example that I can think of so that we can dive into what's going on. So if I flip this and now I'm looking at Colorado's offense, okay, Colorado's offense has 3 people coming back from last year. Georgia Tech's defense has 4 people coming back on defense that started last year. So in a lot of ways, this is a wash where Colorado is bringing in a new offense, a new quarterback, new receivers, new everything. So they're going to have to communicate. That offensive line is going to have to hold up. They're going to have to be able to run the ball. They're going to have to be able to do all of these things that we've never seen them do. The other thing I've also paid attention to is Georgia Tech's time of possession, because I need to understand Georgia Tech's tendencies. How does Georgia Tech use the clock? How do they run their offense? What does it look like? So that's another touch point that I was using to go research Georgia Tech, because like I will say, and I will continue to say, I don't care what my team is really focused on. I need to understand the team I'm going to play. I need to understand what my competition is good at, how my competition plays, how my competition is going to work to beat me, and I need to see how I match up against that competition. And so for me, when I'm looking at this this matchup. The things that worry me in regards to Colorado is going to be Georgia Tech's time of possession. It's going to be Georgia Tech having a scrambling quarterback. It's going to be their running back being very good. It's going to be their offensive line, because if I look at the history of Colorado, even with Shedeur and Travis, Colorado struggles against a team that has a good offensive line. Now, the other side of this is when I'm looking at Colorado, like I said before, I think one of Colorado's strengths next year is going to be their defense. But again, the defense versus Georgia Tech's offense might be a wash. So if it's a wash, then I have to flip it and I have to say, how can Colorado's offense fare against Georgia Tech's defense? That I actually don't know, because I haven't seen it. I haven't seen Colorado's offense and I haven't seen this Georgia Tech defense. So those are the things that I don't know what is going to happen. And so if I was going to do a preview or analyze this game or assess where it's going on, I would honestly right now give us a question mark, because we haven't seen it. I need to see a little bit more of players, spring games, who's starting, all those things to really be able to assess this. So that's something to consider about Colorado's offense versus Georgia Tech's defense. The other thing I look at is Georgia Tech has had the opportunity to play some good football teams, and they have played them very tough. They've played Georgia very tough. I think went to 7 or 8 overtimes. They beat Miami. Miami was the best offense in college football last year. So Georgia Tech was able to beat a team that had a very good offense last year. I'm giving you information because I'm starting to realize that nobody is taking the time to go look at Georgia Tech. Nobody is taking the time to go look at our competition. Everyone is so worried about what Colorado has. Our offensive line is going to be better. We don't even know who's going to be on our offensive line, but they're magically going to be better. We don't even know who the starting running back is going to be, but he's magically going to be better. We don't even know what Caden Salters is going to look like when he goes up against better competition, but he's definitely going to be better. Spoiler alert, we don't know what Caden Salters is going to show up. We don't know if we're going to get the 2023 version. We don't know if we're going to get the 2024 version. I think he's going to be somewhere in the middle, which is fine. But what does that mean for our offense? What does that mean for our running backs? We don't even know what's going on there. Again, that is going to concern me because I don't know how to grade it. If I don't know how to grade it and I have to hope something is going to go right, it's going to make me nervous, because when I look at Georgia Tech, I know what they have because I've seen Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech has proved it to me. Georgia Tech has shown me. And the one thing I think we can all probably collectively agree on, we all know Georgia Tech is going to have a good offensive line. We all know who the quarterback is and we all know who the running back is. So to me, their offense is a little bit more solidified than it is Colorado. That's just a fact. You can't be mad at a fact. That's just what it is right now at this point. The last thing I'll just say here before I round out this video is go research how many penalties Georgia Tech did not have last year. We all know Colorado was penalized a lot last year. Georgia Tech was not penalized a lot last year. One of the most important things about football is figuring out who you have. Who is the guy playing next to you? How good is the guy playing next to you? What can the guy next to you do? What can he handle? What is he going to do when pressure mounts? What is he going to do when the games get hard? What is he going to do when we're struggling? What is he going to do when we're in overtime? What is he going to do when we're in a game and he gets tired? What is he going to do in a game if he rolls his ankle? What is he going to do if he gets hit hard? What is he going to do if he sees that we're losing? We don't know that about a lot of players when it comes to Colorado. If you know more about a team because a team has shown you more, you have to go with that team. Doesn't matter who I'm a fan of. We have to use common sense when we're thinking about these things. So like I will always say, we need to start paying attention to the competition. We need to start thinking about who we're actually going against. We need to look at their strengths. We need to look at their weaknesses. We need to look at how we match up against them. We need to look at the things that they do well. We need to think about the things that we have not done well. I will also say, because I've said before, Colorado could fix everything they did wrong last year. The reality is that's probably not going to happen because we have to think about what is proven. We have to think about what we know about a team. So I am only making this video because it is my hope that I can reach somebody and help you to see how you actually can look at your competition and the things that you should be looking at. The other thing that really concerns me about Georgia Tech is they did not turn over the ball a lot last year. And that's another thing that when you think about how to win football games and how you match up and things like that, Georgia Tech did a lot of things last year that showed me that they played sound football. A couple of things that Georgia Tech did that showed me they played sound football. They didn't have a lot of penalties. They ran the football. They didn't have a lot of turnovers. Their offensive line was stout. They beat good teams. And usually, if you beat a good team, that tells me that you're disciplined. That is like a football bylaw that I don't know where it's written, but I know that it's written somewhere. When we start thinking about Colorado in 2025 season, we should not be having conversations about Colorado without mentioning Georgia Tech. We should not be thinking anything Colorado without thinking about Georgia Tech. So the next time we say, okay, we don't know who our offensive linemen starters are going to be, that is an issue. Georgia Tech knows who their offensive lineman is going to be. Whenever we're like, okay, we don't know what we're going to do with XYZ, okay, think about how that matches up with Georgia Tech. That's how we should be having conversations, because you know what? That's how I'm having conversations and thinking about when I'm thinking about Texas right now. Texas's first game is Ohio State. I need Texas to beat Ohio State. I need Texas to be better than Ohio State, because that is what football is about. You need to be better than the other team. I don't need to be better than my own team. I need to be better than the other team. So just something I'm throwing out there to hope that we can start talking about Colorado in the right way, and that we can get into the swing of 2025 season, because we all know with 100% certainty that Colorado's first game of the season is on a Friday night, and it is against Georgia Tech. So we need to start looking at Georgia Tech sooner than later.